Designing a low-allergen garden can greatly enhance the quality of life for allergy sufferers. Here are some tips to help you create a garden that minimizes allergens. 1. Choose low-allergen plants. Non-flowering plants. Opt for plants that are less likely to produce pollen, such as ferns, hostas, and ornamental grasses. Female plants. Female plants produce fewer allergens because they don't release pollen. Consider dioecious plants where you can select female varieties. Insect-pollinated plants. Plants that rely on insects for pollination, like roses and lilies, typically release less pollen into the air compared to wind-pollinated plants. 2. Plant selection. Trees. Choose low-pollen trees like dogwood, redbud, magnolia, and crepe myrtle. Shrubs. Favor shrubs like boxwood, hydrangea, and azalea, which produce minimal pollen. Flowers. Opt for flowers with low pollen counts, such as tulips, begonias, impatiens, and petunias. 3. Garden layout. Windbreaks. Use tall hedges or fences as windbreaks to reduce the amount of airborne pollen entering your garden. Raised beds. Planting in raised beds can help reduce mold exposure, as the soil drains better and is less likely to harbor mold spores. Distance from home. Keep high allergen plants, like grasses and trees that produce a lot of pollen, away from windows and doorways to prevent pollen from entering the house. 4. Reduce mold and mildew. Proper drainage. Ensure your garden has proper drainage to prevent standing water, which can lead to mold growth. Mulching. Use mulch to suppress weeds and reduce soil disturbance, which can release mold spores. However, avoid organic mulches like straw or bark that can harbor mold. Instead, consider gravel or rock mulch. 5. Garden maintenance. Regular watering. Water your garden regularly but avoid overwatering, as excessive moisture can encourage mold growth. Pruning and weeding. Keep the garden well maintained by regularly pruning and weeding to prevent the buildup of plant debris and mold. Lawn care. Mow the lawn frequently and keep the grass short to prevent the growth of pollen-producing flowers. 6. Allergen-free zones. Outdoor living spaces. Create allergen-free zones with hardscaping elements like patios, decks, and pathways using non-allergenic materials like stone, concrete, or tiles. Potted plants. Use pots and containers to grow plants, which can be easily moved and maintained, reducing exposure to allergens in the soil. 7. Avoid high allergen plants. Trees. Avoid high pollen trees like oak, birch, pine, and maple. Grasses. Steer clear of high pollen grasses such as Bermuda, Timothy, and Kentucky bluegrass. Weeds. Eliminate common allergenic weeds like ragweed, nettle, and dandelions. 8. Additional tips. Timing. Plan gardening activities for times when pollen counts are low, such as early morning or after a rain. Protective gear. Wear protective clothing, gloves, and a mask while gardening to minimize exposure to allergens. Cleanliness. After gardening, wash your hands, face, and change clothes to remove pollen and allergens. By carefully selecting plants and designing your garden with these strategies in mind, you can create a beautiful and low allergen space that is enjoyable for allergy sufferers.